She never imagined a simple act of kindness would change her life. When Maya, a hard-working black woman struggling to make ends meet, stopped to help a lost little girl crying on the street, she thought she was doing what anyone with a heart would do. But moments later, flashing lights surrounded her, and officers demanded she step away from the same child she had just comforted. Before she could explain, someone powerful stepped out of a black car, a white billionaire CEO, furious and desperate. His daughter was missing, and Maya was standing right beside her. In that instant, suspicion filled the air. To them, she wasn't a savior, she was a suspect. But what happened next flipped every assumption upside down. When the truth came out, it would force the billionaire to make a decision that would shock everyone, including Maya herself. Because sometimes, the person you least expect becomes the only one who can save you. So tell me, where are you watching from right now? It was supposed to be just another day. Maya Johnson, a 29-year-old nurse's aide, was used to long shifts, sore feet, and quiet evenings. Her life was simple: wake up before dawn, catch the bus across town, care for strangers who barely noticed her, then head home to her small apartment on the south side. She didn't complain. She couldn't afford to. Every paycheck went toward her mother's medication and her younger brother's college books. Maya believed in kindness, even when the world didn't give much of it back. She'd smile at rude patients, hold hands with the lonely, and tell herself that being good still mattered. But under that calm strength, she knew what it felt like to be judged before she even spoke, to see people tense up the second she walked into a store or step aside on the sidewalk like she didn't belong there. That morning, the city was buzzing after a night of rain. Maya left work early for once, excited to grab her mom's favorite flowers on the way home. She had no idea that a single, innocent choice, stopping to help a lost little girl, would turn her ordinary day into a public nightmare. Because in the world she lived in, being kind could still be mistaken for something criminal. And someone was about to make that mistake in the worst possible way. Maya bent down, gently brushing the tears from the little girl's cheek. "Hey, it's okay, sweetheart. What's your name?" The child hiccuped through sobs, clutching a stuffed rabbit. "Lily. I can't find my daddy." Maya's heart softened. She'd seen fear like this before: patients alone in hospital beds, kids waiting for parents who never came. She took Lily's tiny hand and said, "Don't worry. We'll find him." But before she could even look around, a voice yelled from across the street. "Hey! Step away from her!" Maya turned, startled. A man in a tailored suit was running toward them, flanked by 2 police officers. His face was pale, eyes wide with panic. "Lily!" he shouted, scooping the girl into his arms. "Are you okay? What did she do to you?" The words hit Maya like a slap. "What? I was just helping," she stammered, stepping back. But the officers were already closing in. One grabbed her arm. We got a call about a possible abduction." Her voice cracked. "That's not true. I found her crying, ask her." But Lily hid her face in her father's shoulder, too overwhelmed to speak. The man's expression hardened. "You expect me to believe you just found my daughter? Dressed like that? In this neighborhood?" Maya froze. Dressed like that? She looked down at her scrubs, blue, faded, stained from work. The kind that made people see less than. The officers didn't ask for details. They just pulled her aside, patted her down, demanded ID. People stopped to watch. Phones came out. Someone whispered, "She tried to take that man's kid." Maya felt her chest tighten. "Please, I didn't." Keep your hands where I can see them," the taller cop barked. Her hands trembled in the air. Her voice broke. "I'm a nurse. I work at St. Mary's. You can call." "Enough," the other officer cut in. "We'll sort this out downtown." The little girl finally spoke, whispering, "Daddy." She was nice, but he didn't seem to hear her. His jaw clenched as he turned away, muttering something about people like her. Maya felt the eyes of the crowd, cold, judging, curious. Every breath felt heavier than the last. The cuffs clicked shut, metal against skin. Inside the patrol car, tears stung her eyes as the city blurred past. How did kindness turn into this? Back at the station, the humiliation deepened. Questions twisted her words, every answer was doubted. The CEO, Daniel Whitmore, filed a formal complaint, claiming she refused to let his daughter go. Hours dragged. Finally, a detective entered with a calmer tone. "We reviewed the footage," he said quietly. "It looks like you didn't do anything wrong." Relief washed over her, until she heard what came next. "Mr. Whitmore dropped the charges, but he wants to speak with you himself." Her stomach turned. Why would he want that? When they met again, his tone had changed. Guilt flickered behind his eyes. "I owe you an apology," he said stiffly. "Lily told me what really happened." He hesitated. "But I also need your help." Maya blinked. "My help?" He nodded. "My daughter hasn't spoken a word to anyone since her mother died. You're the first person she's opened up to. I know I have no right to ask, but would you consider staying with us? Pretending to be her mother. Just for a week. Until I can figure out what to do." The room fell silent. Maya stared at him, disbelief written all over her face. She wanted to walk away. To tell him no. But when she remembered Lily's terrified eyes, something in her softened. Still, one question burned in her mind. Why did this powerful man, who saw her as a threat hours ago, suddenly want her in his home? And deep down, Maya knew, this story was far from over. For a few days, it almost felt like peace. Maya stayed in the Whitmore mansion, surrounded by marble floors, quiet hallways, and a little girl who finally smiled again. Lily clung to her every morning, laughing at breakfast, holding her hand like she'd known her forever. And Daniel, though distant at first, had begun to soften. He'd ask about her day, watch the way she comforted his daughter, and even smile sometimes. But beneath that calm, tension simmered. Not everyone welcomed her presence. The mansion's staff whispered when she passed. A security guard trailed her every step. And one evening, while Maya was tucking Lily into bed, she overheard a voice from downstairs, sharp, angry. "She doesn't belong here, Daniel. You're risking everything for some woman you barely know." It was his business partner, a man with the same cold certainty Maya had seen in the officer's eyes that day. "If the media finds out who's living under your roof, you'll be finished." Maya froze in the hallway, the words slicing through her. "Who's living under your roof?" As if she were an embarrassment, not a person. Later that night, she found Daniel in his study, pacing. "You heard him, didn't you?" he said quietly. His voice cracked. "I thought I could protect you and Lily from all this. But they're already watching us." Before Maya could respond, the front gate erupted in flashes of light. Cameras. Reporters shouting. Someone had leaked the story. Billionaire CEO living with mystery woman who once tried to take his child. Within minutes, chaos took over. Protesters gathered outside. Accusations flooded social media. And as Maya tried to calm Lily upstairs, 2 police cars pulled into the driveway. Her heart pounded. "Not again," she whispered. Officers entered the home, questioning, accusing, and demanding she come with them for clarification. Daniel stepped forward, furious. "She's done nothing wrong," he shouted, shielding Maya behind him. But the cameras caught it all, the image of a black woman standing behind a white billionaire, his arm outstretched like a barrier. It was a picture that would divide the country. The tension snapped when one of the officers grabbed her wrist. Lily screamed, "Don't take her," and Daniel shoved the officer's arm away. The room erupted, shouts, flashes, confusion. Maya stood frozen in the storm, tears cutting down her face. If this moment has you holding your breath, take a second to subscribe, because stories like this deserve to be heard. In that moment, she realized something deeper than fear. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about every woman who had been doubted, every act of kindness twisted into suspicion, and every person told they didn't belong where they stood. Daniel turned to her, voice breaking. "I'm sorry, Maya. I was one of them too." The world outside roared with judgment. Inside, Maya met his eyes and said softly, "Then prove you're not anymore." The cameras caught the look on his face, shame, realization, and something that looked like resolve. Because this time, Daniel Whitmore wasn't protecting her to ease his guilt. He was about to stand with her, against everything he once believed in. And when he stepped outside to face the crowd, Maya knew, this was the moment that would change them both forever. The next morning, the world was watching. The image of Daniel Whitmore standing beside Maya had gone viral overnight, splashed across news sites, talk shows, and social media. Some called her a liar, others a hero. But for once, the story didn't vanish in 24 hours. It started a conversation no one could ignore. Daniel refused to back down. In a trembling voice during a live press conference, he told the truth, how fear and prejudice had made him accuse the very woman who saved his daughter. Cameras clicked as he admitted, "It wasn't Maya who was dangerous that day. It was my own assumptions." The crowd went silent. It was the kind of honesty that doesn't erase guilt but exposes it to light. Maya didn't want fame or pity. She wanted change. When reporters surrounded her, she didn't talk about forgiveness. She talked about justice, about empathy, about how easily someone's skin could rewrite their story. "I wasn't a threat," she said calmly. "I was just a woman trying to help a child. But in this country, sometimes that's all it takes to become a suspect." Her words struck deep. Community leaders reached out. People shared her story online, using her name as a symbol of quiet courage. But behind the noise, Maya stayed grounded. She still worked at the hospital, still smiled at her patients, and still chose kindness, because that was who she was before the cameras, before the mansion, and before everything. As for Daniel, his life changed in ways he didn't expect. He started funding community programs, hiring nurses from underrepresented backgrounds, and publicly advocating for racial equity. Some said it was guilt. Others said it was redemption. But for him, it was responsibility, a chance to rebuild trust in a world that had taught him to look away. One evening, months later, Maya visited Lily again. The little girl ran into her arms, laughing, no cameras, no headlines, just warmth. Daniel stood by the doorway, quieter now, humbler. "She still talks about you," he said softly. Maya smiled. "Then maybe she'll grow up seeing people for who they are, not what the world says they are." Outside, the night was calm. For the first time in a long time, Maya felt peace. Not because everything was fixed, but because the truth was finally visible. This wasn't just her story. It was a mirror held up to the world. A reminder of how easily bias turns compassion into suspicion, how silence can wound deeper than words, and how courage, even when quiet, can spark change. She didn't set out to make a statement. She just refused to let fear define her humanity. So the question now isn't what happened to Maya. It's what we'll do with her story. Because racism doesn't end when the headlines fade. It ends when we stop assuming, start listening, and finally see each other for who we really are.